Look at that dude! Look at him clawing his little...
not who you play as. It bothers me.
Clawing his little dinosaur
These
armor
are
off.
just things...
Did this just come out?
Boo! Yeah, they re-released it.
Do we have all the cheat codes? Because it's
don't.
the only fun way to play this game, by the way.
Look at this company that will exist forever.
Man, Iguana used to be in Texas. I was proud about that.
Ooh.
Lawrence, you should play this.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know what?
Oh, sweet.
Turok was awesome.
Wait, hold on. Here, I want everyone to notice this reveal.
Sweet hand.
Not the man on the
Yeah.
cover.
Not that shredded.
This is an
young
old
dude.
man who was kicked off his reservation, and now he's fighting dinosaurs.
Well, I don't remember. I don't remember the graphics being this bad.
Really?
Good.
They looked worse.
You mean good?
They weren't 1080. They were. This is how it would look with 2 expansion packs in the N64.
Yeah, this is, I want to say, like, this is probably 20 times the resolution of the original
Yeah,
game.
seriously.
The game would run at like 4 frames a second.
Yeah, it was like 300 by 240.
shoot a dinosaur.
I remember Nintendo Power, like, saying, you can look in the dinosaur's mouth and see that it has teeth!
Yeah. That's
That-
pretty cool.
that was a big deal.
And then you're like, aren't you owned by Nintendo? And they're like, oh, shut up.
It's about ethics.
Yeah.
Got him.
What? Game?
It is about, okay,
It
so,
started with Turok.
Turok, let's see here, let's
play
do
the
another sync on options, yeah.
Should we play the controller? 1, 2, 3.
A little fadey, but that's okay. So for today, welcome to prehistoric Ball Jutsu. Hey,
Nice.
hey, got it.
Because
I guess
we're old.
since we're rounding out the year now, I think it's time to take a look back at some of the stories we broke this year and give you guys a little update on where they're sitting right now.
Oh boy, people are gonna crucify us
This
for
is
this.
where we just pat ourselves on the back.
No,
or
Sorta. This is where
defend ourselves.
This is
The
where
opposite.
we passive aggressively defend ourselves from all the shitheads who are like, guess you guys were wrong. Meanwhile, we have to remind people that it was a report and it could be true at the time, and then change because things change in this. Never mind. Okay, we'll get there. Hey, we'll get there.
Yeah. I have fun things to say.
So I guess we'll start with the biggest story of all: Half-Life 3.
The game is out and everybody loves it.
Yeah, they do.
Man, look at the development. They went gold and people are playing it all the time now.
Yeah, it's sad.
Wait, no, they're not. The game doesn't exist,
No.
and it probably will never exist.
Well, do we have
didn't-
any update on the status?
I thought someone found like a notepad with the word Half-Life 3 on it.
There was what was it? Valve Time that just released like screenshots of Half-Life 2 Episode 4.
Yeah, welcome to Ravenholm.
Right.
A return to Ravenholm.
Right, that's the closest we got. Right. Well, there
God, look
was
at the way the
something.
view pitches when you move around. Ugh.
God damn.
They didn't
this.
know about motion sickness back
Fuck
then.
this game.
Oh, the little triangles, yeah.
Collect them all.
Ooh, that's a good
What
sound.
do these do?
You get 100, they give
know-
you a life, I think.
You
I
know
actually
how
think-
like rings work in Sonic the Hedgehog? They're not like that. Secrets.
Stab.
Can you
Nice.
find the code screen? 'Cause I
Okay.
looked up all the old codes.
I don't need them.
Anyways, we should talk about the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
We're playing Turok.
Playing
just so everybody's
Turok
aware.
Dinosaur Hunter.
I'm getting mad.
Yeah, for some reason, Lawrence really wanted to play this.
There's nothing out, man. There's Sakura Santa. You want to play that?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
No,
see?
the answer's no.
The answer is no. It's a fucking visual novel. It's terrible.
Yeah, so the game's still not out. They released Half-Life 2 Episode 4 screenshots from 2009 that apparently, what was the name of the developer that was working on it?
It was Arcane. They were the
yeah.
guys who ended up going on to do Dishonored, and we talked about it for a little bit. And a lot of people, as they do, the armchair critics of the world, like to read the title and then go, these guys don't know what they're talking about. I was like, please watch the episode, please.
Yeah.
You'll end up finding out that we're all just very kind of quiet guys. Sometimes we get a little angry, but like we're just talking about what's out there, fact-wise, and a little bit of speculation. But turns out Arcane was doing some Might and Magic game with a Source engine, and at the time it made sense that maybe they would be commissioned to do a episode because clearly Valve had lost all interest in doing it, and episode 3 was just not going to happen at any point. So they reached out to these guys, and they ended up getting acquired by Bethesda, and then ended up making Dishonored, and now Dishonored 2, and they might even make Prey. So Half-Life dead
Half-Life
forever.
is dead forever.
Yeah, I guess the update there is no real update. The market forces they reported on that basically precluded Half-Life from being made are still there. Valve has no real reason to make it, given that they're making shitloads of money on games with a different kind of model. So, yeah, no,
Well, I guess
Half-Life 3.
it's been so long. Shall we recap how this story came about?
Well, we heard basically we had a inside source.
Anonymous source. We have no idea who this person is, right?
Inside
Right,
anonymous
Bruce?
source.
But we verified that they work at Valve.
No, I know.
Yeah.
This always comes up.
Oh, I
because
see. Yeah.
people
We
don't
know
know
who they
they're
are.
anonymous.
I'm being facetious.
I get where
Anonymous
you're
source
going.
means anonymous to the viewer,
Yeah.
not anonymous to the reporter.
Right.
And we also verified the information we got from this one anonymous source with other sources, so it's not a single anonymous source. We did all of our
work.
Ignore the construction.
yeah. I wonder if
please.
that's coming through. So
They're,
apologies. if
they're
there's
building
any-
a
Would you mind? Thanks.
they're building a production set next door. Hooray!
Yeah, so then anyways, we found out that basically they had said they weren't working on Half-Life 3 and they hadn't been for years and years. They probably stopped development around 2009, if they were doing it at all. And then Lawrence called up some super data research to tell us that why would Valve even need to make the game when they're making shitloads of money on lots of other projects? And it makes total sense.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games that still doesn't exist, and we have seen no signs to the contrary.
We were then invited over to Valve to go check out the studio, which is
that's
really
right.
nice. Very nice guys over there. Very
it's
cool studio.
Very rare that you invite a bunch of problems on somebody, and then they're like, "Why don't you come over and let's talk?" So that was really cool of them.
Got to do the Vive, all that stuff a little early.
It was cool.
Yeah, I got to see like all the teams, what everyone's working on. Like,
They're all very nice.
yep,
Very, very nice people.
very cool studio.
But yeah,
Did
sadly,
did not see anything Half-Life.
I
other
did,
than
but
some,
I didn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
I saw
Yeah.
Half-Life 3, didn't tell you.
Saw
really?
saw some art on the wall that said Half-Life, but that was about it.
Did it say Half-Life 3 on it?
Did not.
I'm the only one that saw the video game.
Yeah.
So, just
Did
so
they let you
guys
play
know.
it?
Gabe
Yeah,
Newell
Said,
showed
"Bruce,
you.
Come here.
I
We
beat
were
it.
walking. He goes, Bruce, come here. He pulled you aside. Where'd Bruce go? Maybe to the bathroom. He was actually playing Half-Life 3.
9 hours later, I came out and I said, it's the greatest video game
Urine
of all
over your
guys,
pants.
Gordon Freeman
That wasn't because I
is
played
the
game.
G-Man from the future. He's the same person.
Anyways, yeah, so the game doesn't exist.
But there's a record.
Sorry.
So-
we wanted to, too.
We
That's
really do. Yeah, I would love to play Half-Life 3.
Yeah,
Are you
that's the
kidding?
crappy part.
What I'm kind of holding out hope for is that with the release of the Vive, Valve might release a new single-player game. That's my big hope right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Half-Life. I mean, I'd like it to be, but it doesn't have to be. I just want them to make another story-based single-player game because I really like
Portal.
it. Oh,
You want to make a single-player Portal game, or are you just talking about the Portal and Turok?
I was actually talking about the single-player Portal game, not the Portal that we just walked through in
Gotcha.
Turok.
I can see how you might be
Good
confused, given that they're of equal weight and merit in terms of video games. Holy shit, that is an annoying sound.
Yeah, can you turn the audio like way down?
Yeah.
I turned it down before.
You already did.
Yeah, it's getting louder.
Ah!
Which makes me think how loud those
there you
getting
are.
those triangles in the game really are.
Lawrence, what's the next story?
Next one is, let's see what we got here. Next one up is, oh boy, this is a good one. This is the smug maker right here.
Yeah.
Silent Hills on the Xbox One.
That's not really the smug maker.
Oh yeah, it is because
No.
we were wrong.
We were told. Yeah, we were. Oh, you mean smug maker for the viewer?
Yeah.
They were.
Oh.
We were absolutely wrong. We did it.
We made it up.
We actually lied. Yeah, we made up the
We
whole
made it
story.
up for attention, even though we had two other reports that were abjectly correct. But we'll get to that in a second. No, we made this up. We were wrong.
Recap that story quickly.
Yeah.
just
So the
for
story was
viewer.
at the time we reported it, which to my knowledge was like 4 or 5 months ago.
Well,
at this point?
this was right before E3.
Yeah.
right before E3.
So we, at the time, we reported that Microsoft was in talks with Kojima and Konami to purchase the Silent Hills property, and then make it an Xbox exclusive. They would then acquire Kojima Productions, and then Silent Hills would be on the Xbox One, and they would basically salvage the game and the brand.
But how much would that cost?
Well, it could cost upwards of $1 billion.
$1 billion? But hold on. All of Amazon or whatever only sold for 500,000.
Your math is wrong. But also, $1 billion was not only in cash; it would also be in stock, which was
Yeah.
a very interesting part of that.
Well, that was one thing that we didn't go into super detail about the story because we were just reporting on the
We should
stuff.
have.
But yeah,
The thing I'm
that was the
learning
one
is-
thing that we did omit, where we just said a number, and we were just like, oh, we assume the audience is smart enough that nope, bad idea.
Well, and still, that's still our failing as reporters. What I'm learning as a writer is that you have to be thoroughly detailed, and then also, no matter what, and no matter how well you explain it, somebody will find something to nitpick and tell you that you're stupid.
Sure.
And that's fine.
Well, I found repetition is kind of the key. Kill that dinosaur.
You're a
This is what
fucking
this game's
dinosaur,
about.
man. You're a Turok dinosaur hunter.
There we go.
You're an old
Look at
man.
the teeth. Look at the teeth in the mouth of the
Children
dinosaur.
will own a casino.
Ah!
So, anyways, we reported that, and actually, we were told by our source
Yeah.
that when we reported on it, it could actually change things.
Yeah, and
Which is very interesting. This is before we reported on it.
we heard
so-
we heard secondhand, and we didn't do a follow-up report on this because we couldn't verify this information, but we did hear from various sources that the report actually frustrated and angered Konami because they're Japanese, they're a little more traditional. They saw it as like a breach of trust that the procedure got leaked out in such a public way. That said, I don't think even without that, I don't think Konami would have sold.
No.
Apparently, Konami wanted pure cash. And
no, they thought they wanted stock.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
They wanted ownership in Microsoft.
I think it's Microsoft, right? Microsoft was the one who may not have gone for it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
no, for
not
sure.
Konami.
Yeah.
But Konami wanted to buy in
They wanted
to
to
one of the largest
Right, they wanted to own
businesses
Microsoft.
ever.
Yeah, they wanted to own Microsoft.
Well, then
Microsoft
they
was
did
like, no,
they
that's not how
did the
this
math
works.
because the longer things went on, they realized, oh, you're still kind of a crazy Japanese company,
Yeah.
and you're trying to shame one of your employees by saying he's on vacation.
Well, they still earn a lot of money, so I don't think that factored into it too much. This is just me talking personally, but I do think that the business reality of Konami is still making a shitload of money, and I could see why they wouldn't need cash. But I can see why getting a business interest in a very big Western company would mean a lot to them in terms of being.
That'd be a hell of a deal.
Yeah, it'd give them a lot of diversification and give them a new interest.
Well, look at Microsoft right now, at least from the gaming division. They're hungry for IP. I mean, what was the story we covered where we said it was only like 3? What is it? Microsoft only had like 3 exclusives this year.
Yeah.
That were like worth mentioning.
Well,
So like they
three full exclusives, so
Yeah.
that doesn't count like Rise of the Tomb Raider and other
Sure.
games that came out on PC.
Right. But just when you think about it, it's like, what's selling the Xbox right now? They clearly need something, and Konami's like, yes, you need us, and they're like, no, we don't, because you just fired the guy who is the main talent, and who's all his people are going to follow him anyway. Why don't we just hire that guy? And I'm sure Sony got the same idea, and with any good businessman or any business individual will go out and seek multiple, what the hell's wrong with this
Monkey
game?
went forever into the sky.
Yeah, with the jack and
Well,
the
the
beanstalk.
funniest thing about this story is obviously recently,
Oh yeah.
Kojima came out and he's like, I'm going to make games with Sony, right?
Yep.
And Sony's
Sony
like,
doesn't
"Yay,
own
look."
him, he's
And everyone's
partnering
like,
with him.
ha, you were wrong. And it's like, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Isn't this exactly what we said was going to happen? It's just that he just went with a different company?
Yes, that means we were wrong.
That means we were absolutely wrong. The thing is that people have forgotten we reported on it 6 months ago.
Well,
Yeah.
but also
And
the
at the
fact
po-
that people were like, that doesn't make any sense. Clearly it did make sense because that's what happened. It just happened
Yeah.
with the other corporation.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, so...
Sony made a better deal. That's the thing. Kojima was going to different companies, taking different meetings. He probably went to Nintendo. He went to Sony. He went to Microsoft and said, "What do you got? Holy shit, that was kind of cool." But yeah, so it was funny to have people like reach out to me personally and be like, "Your source was wrong. You don't know shit." It's like, do you really think Sony was like, "Hey, Kojima, you're free.
yeah.
Why don't you do something else?" And he went, "You know what? I'm not going to talk to anyone else. I love you,
Yeah.
Sony."
Do you
No,
like us? For
Yeah.
us?
That's
no,
not what business is.
Sony gave him the better deal.
Yeah.
They wrote him the better check, possibly, and he's gonna end up making more money out of this deal.
Right.
It's really basic math, and I think this comes from a lot of people. This is the weird sort of like the war, the consoles, where people are like, "You're invested in Microsoft. You like Sony more." You're like, "Oh, we don't give a fuck."
Yeah, I like video games. I want Kojima to get a budget and make things because he's crazy.
Yeah, I do like the fact that this is all kind of driving some sort of capitalism.
Sure.
It creates what's the word I'm thinking for?
Demand.
Yeah, it creates demand, but like at the end of the day, like
Competition.
competition. That's the word I'm
Competition.
thinking of. Yeah. I like seeing these companies trying to compete for your dollar and trying to like make the better deal. That's great. That's cool.
One thing
We
we should-
have no personal investment in one company or the other.
One thing we should explain about business is that, and this is something that I guess you may not know, especially even if you're like 25 years old and you've had a job for a while. If you are in demand, like Kojima is, then you can go to a bunch of different companies and solicit and say like, what will you give me that's better than the other company? And that's something that maybe a lot of people don't know or understand, because if, for example, you were interviewing in a job and they really wanted you and they told you they really wanted you, you could go to interview at another job and then you could choose. You could say, all right, well, this job is offering me this, but this other job is offering me this. Which one wants me more? And which one do I want to do?
That was how I got my first major raise. I remember it was the very early days of Machinima, and I started getting approached by other companies. And I remember I just got into a meeting and said, "Hey, look, I like working here, but this other place offered me double what you guys are giving me right now," because I was making like fucking nothing at the time. And they had like an emergency meeting. They're like, "We're gonna take care of you. We got you." And I was like, "Oh,
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's how this works. And if I just sat there and didn't say anything, they would have happily kept paying me the borderline minimum wage I was making at the time. It was like, okay, that's sort of how the game works, and that's exactly what Kojima did.
So in summary,
Running around.
Groundbreaking AI. Deers.
we stand by our report being accurate at the time we reported it. We still believe and have verified through our sources that Microsoft was in talks with Kojima, and those talks didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And we warned that even at the time of the report, that could be the case. So.
We also reported it as a rumor. We weren't like, this is definitive. This is what's happening. It was all true.
Yeah.
Like, it all happened.
Yeah.
Like, these were meetings that... This is, I don't know, like, I would
They
love
happen
to,
all the time. You just never know about them. So
love
everybody tends to think they don't happen. which is
Right.
cool.
I love to fast forward 10 years in the future when we can just kind of do like a retrospective of the stuff, and Phil Spencer isn't at Microsoft anymore, and he can just kind of like, oh yeah. Like, I love, James and I are watching like the Star Wars documentary, and I love seeing like people kind of gab now that enough time has gone by where they're like, yeah, Lucas is kind of insane. Like, and you can just kind of openly say the sorts of things, whereas like, when you're promoting the prequels, you can't say much.
Yeah.
Well, I love the Hobbit special features that are like coming out, or even
Oh,
Peter
yeah.
Jackson like a year
Like,
later.
holy
is
shit, this
like,
movie was a mess.
Jesus Christ! He's like, fuck me.
It's one of those things to keep in mind, you lovely viewer, that when all you ever see is the final product, it's really easy to sit there and say this game's amazing. It's easy to sit there and go like, yeah, it's easy. Like, people just said a thing and it happened.
Yeah.
I wanted Mass Effect, and there it is. Like, you didn't see all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. Like, and I don't know.
It always makes me think of like I used to read gaming magazines growing up, and what a lot of like Game Pro and like a lot of magazines would do is they would say, this game's coming out, expected to come out sometime next year, right? And it'd show you screenshots of it, and it would say percentage complete.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? And
Yeah.
it would be like 60% complete. And as a kid, I would go, if this is what it looks like at 60%, can you imagine what this Superman game is going to be? Like, when it reaches full 100, it's going to be amazing.
Well,
and it's
in
like,
your-
that's not how it works.
Yeah, in your mind, you just see a bunch of supercomputers rendering.
Yeah.
Out. And it's like it's working. It's working. It's like, no, a bunch of guys are clicking away. They're trying to draw stuff. They're all like, imagine this one file on one computer, and there's 10 other computers that people are working on, and everyone's working on this one file at the same time. And one guy does one thing wrong, and it breaks fucking everything.
God
It's like,
damn it, Derek.
Yeah, now imagine doing that 20 times a day.
There was actually a Reddit post. It was an Explain It Like I'm 5. Can you explain how, like, most companies use, this is getting kind of off topic, but still kind of on topic, and how little
It's not this
we and
podcast.
a lot of people understand about the industries in which they choose to commentate. But they were like, how come so many people use, like, you know, Source Engine or Unreal or any of these engines that are, like, verified good, but then when the game comes out, it's all broken, right? And the guy basically explained it. He said that it's like you have a garden, and the garden's designed to make carrots, and then you're making carrots, and then someone goes, you know what we'd love to get going in this? Some potatoes. Yeah. So you're like, all right, so you push the carrots off to the side, and then you start growing potatoes, but that's not exactly what it's designed for. So it's like, it's just like all this like weirdness that you're kind of mixing together, and by the end you invite everyone into your garden, but they're not wearing the right footwear to be in the garden, so they're stomping all over your carrots, and then the potatoes are growing wrong, and then there's a giant palm tree just coming out in the middle. Like, he just described it. What the end result is a screwed up garden because of all the different things. You started with a carrot garden that worked really well, but ultimately what was required was something more complex than that. I just thought that was an interesting thing, and that's something that I was like, oh yeah, that does give me better insight on how that kind of process works.
Yeah, the other thing too, just in general, like, I know we make fun of games, we talk about games, we like to talk about it. I never want to feel like I speak with any sort of authority on how to make a video game, because
We don't know how.
I don't know.
We try and inform ourselves.
Yeah,
Like-
But that doesn't give. You haven't actually done it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like, we haven't sat down and wrote code.
No. But I will always have a infinite respect for it, and I will always respect those who actually do the hard work. And like I said, we were doing the Dark Rift thing, and like always talking to those game developers is awesome, because they have all these Blizzard stories, or I'm just like wow, I did not know that. That's really cool to hear. You'll never really hear that sort of stuff in like a podcast or like anywhere outside of like a small conversation. But like, it's fun to hear these things. Like, I think I've told the story before, but like, I remember being at PAX. I was drunk with this one guy from Ubisoft. I don't think he works there anymore, but I remember him lamenting the PS3.
Such a pile of shit.
Well, and like
Yeah.
a lot of developers.
7
like that.
processors? Are you fucking kidding me?
But like publicly, you can't do that when you're licensing this
course.
hardware from
Yeah.
Sony. But like, you don't see any of those deals. You just see people being like, "I love you, the gamer, and I want
Mm-hmm.
to make a game for you." It's like, no, Avatar, the game was not made for the gamer. It was made for Ubisoft because they got a licensing deal through James Cameron. Like,
Man, they tried though.
But then like,
They swung for the fences on that game.
I'm happy when I hear this sort of stuff like about like the cell processor, like what a fucking pain in the ass it was to develop for, and then you see how apparently the PS4 is easier to develop for and stuff like that. Like I don't know personally, but these are just like the things I've heard.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like that sort of stuff. It's cool, but you'll never hear it.
There was a ladder back there, Lawrence.
Yeah, okay. I thought there had to be. I'm not going to claim to be like a development professional, but I've been in software development before.
You've written code, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I've written code. I've made some shitty games in like a Commodore 64. Whoa.
Oh, let it happen.
Whoa.
Just let it happen.
Whoa. Wow.
Wait.
When you put the game in slow motion, those kills look really cool.
It was
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
awesome.
Not cool. Sorry.
They look
They
better.
looked cool in 1996.
They look better.
But there's a lot of it's interesting to me because yeah, people have to be really diplomatic about, when the PS3 came out, you'd have interviews where developers are like, the PS3's good, it's good, it's challenging. And that is their diplomatic way of saying, holy fuck,
It's really,
why do we
really
have to make
difficult.
games for this fucking thing?
Yeah.
And there's an element of reading between the lines when it comes to development speak that you can start to do, especially if you've been there before and your hands are kind of tied by software vendors or whatever. And you never know who's listening, so it's wise to just keep your mouth shut because people
Right.
get fired
Yeah.
for saying the wrong thing.
You don't
want
want to get that email from the one guy who you don't, in industry-wise, you've never heard of him.
So
Yeah.
there's actually there's a couple of good analogies, or I guess analogous to other industries, and politics is one of them. So if you watch a lot of like punditry or anything like that on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or whatever, when they pick apart what a politician says, they're doing that because there is so much subtext in what they're talking about, and that's exactly what you're saying. Which
Yeah.
is, if somebody says the PS3 is challenging to develop for,
Now, what does challenging mean?
that means that it's very, very difficult. So when a politician is saying like, yeah, Syria's not being the best right now, like then that means there's a lot of problems and they've probably been dealing with it for months. So it's the same thing there, and the same thing with like movies where you hear directors and producers sort of talk about each other. There was like, they were cool. When you hear that means they weren't cool most of the time. Most of the time it means like they had a lot of problems and eventually they came to a resolution. It's the same with video games and any other industry because we're all humans.
Right. Well, and like at the end of the day, like I said, you always just end up seeing the finished product. So
Yeah.
you're just like, they wanted to make a thing and they made it. You didn't see the daily trials and tribulations of like when they were making Star Wars and like the film just didn't work one day, or like a camera fell over, or like some actor was kind of being an asshole and like, oh, come on, buddy, like get your shit together. And they're like, okay, you're right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
should probably do this.
Yeah, there are a lot of difficulties that we got, and it's sort of the same with us when we talk about like we don't ever really talk about what we go through for editing purposes when we're editing videos. And everybody's like, "Why do videos take so long?" We're just like, "Oh,
Love that
gosh."
voice.
It's that's usually what it is. It's like, why does it take so long to edit a video? And we're like, well, it's a lot of
Have you
time and a
done
lot
it?
of creative effort, and a lot of things break, and there's just a lot
Yeah.
of different things that we just don't talk about.
A lot of self-expectation for us as well. Like sometimes we're like, this isn't funny. This isn't funny enough. And it may be for everyone else, but for us, this isn't funny enough for us.
We want it to be
Let's
funnier.
figure out a way to make it funnier,
Well, just what happened the other day, like Elisa's computer just didn't work.
Yeah, just all of a
We had,
sudden
we, had to,
broke.
Oh, yeah.
we had to reinstall Windows because the whole thing like just got fucked.
Our hard drives disappear.
Yeah, we had to like lose a project. It
So
sucked.
multiply that by 500, and then you've got a game design studio. Like
Yeah.
you got a game developer. Like, oh man, that's a lot of problems.
It's also important to remember that most of those people that are doing that grunt work aren't the ones getting rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can potentially, but like not really any more so than most other jobs can get you rich.
Yeah.
So like the idea that someone's just trying to take advantage of you by releasing a shitty game is kind of sad and depressing. Like because now it just means that someone who just worked probably really, really, really long hours and didn't really benefit that much from it now just has a shitty game on his resume after
That's
all that
true.
work.
That's a good
So
point.
I mean, it doesn't take just one person to fuck up a game.
And in terms of gaming experience, just shipping a game at all is a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I find the most tragic when people mercilessly bag on a game. I like to think we do it with good humor, and we do it with games that are old enough that it's not a fresh wound for somebody, but
Bounty Box.
yeah, like Bounty Box. I mean, imagine you really want to be a games developer and you love games and all you want to do is make games, and you just got out of college, and the only place you can get a job is developing Bounty Box. So you're like, fuck it. At least I get paid to work on games all day.
Yeah.
So this stuff can be a stepping stone, and just because a project shipped poorly doesn't mean they wanted it to be that way.
Yeah. Well, there's also being a figurehead kind of sucks in that regard. Where like, you have your Cliffy B's and stuff like that, where like someone will point at someone, or like, even like Chris Nolan or J.J. Abrams, like if something goes wrong in a film, or like even George Lucas. We were talking about this yesterday. I'm like, so George Lucas gets a lot of shit for going back and like adding stuff to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Now it's like, is it that he went in there physically himself and added this stuff, or did he just hire people who did it and he shook his head and said, yeah, that's good? So like, you can rarely ever just blame one guy for doing this stuff, but it's easier that way. Like I've said this before, people prefer the black and white story. Oh, what the hell's going on?
Somebody warped in.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
But yeah, people prefer the easy, like, this is bad because of this, rather than, well, life's more complicated than that, but I'd rather not have to focus on those things.
This is a really bad analogy, but I still tend to use it a lot. There were some people that probably really thought Hitler was a pretty cool dude to hang out with. He's basically the greatest villain that the modern age has ever known, right? And I don't begrudge anyone for going, Hitler is a fucking monster. He's a horrible person and he's evil incarnate. Totally justified. That being said, there are probably a fair number of people who are like, that Hitler is a riot. I love going over to his place for lunch because he is hilarious.
He's a riot.
And he always makes the best beignets. Like,
I'm sure he wasn't that.
Yeah.
But he probably had a lot of gravitas, meaning like people really wanted to be near him.
That's typically kind of politicians. Like, I actually kind of recommend. It's not a great movie, but I recently watched Frost Nixon, which is
I love that movie.
And there's a part where there's this Sam Rockwell plays this guy who had been investigating Nixon for years and had been writing stories.
Oh yeah.
Never met him, but the whole time, and this actually happened in Fargo season 2 as well. But like had a very similar scene where one character is like, "Fuck that guy. He is the worst. He's a monster." And he comes up and he's just. There's something about those types of people, those types of individuals, people who you have built up. They're basically gods to you. And then like Sam Rockwell's like, I'm not gonna shake his hand. We'll shake his hand. He's like, hi, I'm Nixon, and he's like, very nice to meet you, sir. And it's like, yeah, you would probably do that too if you met Hitler. Like, you piece of, hey, wow, hey, big deal. Whoa, that guy's a monster.
You'd have him sign your book. References.
Would you have Hitler sign your book?
Oh,
did I write the book?
Yes.
I mean, that's weird.
I think it's your copy of Mein Kampf.
It's actually the journal that tells you where the Ark is.
Cool. I would definitely have Hitler sign that.
That's a reference.
But yeah, there was that scene too in Fargo season 2 when that guy was like, fuck that politician, he's the worst. And he comes up and he's like, hey, nice to meet you. And then he's like, oh, hey.
Yeah. Reagan.
Yeah.
So the next up in our rumor recap is Tomb Raider on PS4. Guess what? Tomb Raider's on the PS4.
We did it. All right.
Ding. We did report that they were investigating.
Well, no duh.
Oh yeah. Yeah, right.
So that was an
it's so
one,
obvious.
Lawrence. That was easy.
Everyone knew that. Everyone's saying that. I love that when you go back and no one was saying that, but in retrospect, everybody thought they were.
There's all these things that I've heard for years, and now they're becoming more and more true. Like hindsight is 2020. Kill the messenger. All these things.
Yeah.
Like, shit. Now we're experiencing this.
Drop those keys in.
Yeah. There we go.
What were you gonna say about Tomb Raider, Lawrence?
Oh, just that. So we reported that Square Enix was looking into selling Tomb Raider at a lower price point on the PS4 as kind of a make good.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they're pursuing that because it seems like everybody's pretty cool with it now. So
yeah, it's got some positive response around it.
Yeah.
That's you can charge $60 for it.
That stuff fascinates me when there are those like everyone on the internet or most people that are
Everyone.
Sorry, not to
all women on the
People are
internet.
loud, yeah.
Oh, it's not even loudness. Everybody thinks they're in this private club, and that no one looks at what they're saying, and no one knows how they feel about things. They tend to think there's this one-way mirror there, where everyone on Twitter and forums on subreddits, they think they're just kind of talking and like gossiping, and the game developers are over there just doing their thing. They're the parents. They're stupid. They don't know. Dude, they see all of it.
Yeah, they see everything.
So when a publisher beforehand is like, oh man, those guys, they're gonna get real mad about this. Well, you know what? Let's toy with the idea of selling it for $40 in case they're really mad. Because they knew people were going to react negatively because they're not stupid. And then they said, okay, it's a timed Xbox exclusive. Everybody's like, stupid. And then they immediately forgot. So now they can sell it for $60 because people weren't that upset about it.
Yep.
I think that stuff is cool. When you get that verification that, maybe the consumers aren't driving the system as much as they think they are.
Well, people are also paying attention to consumers, and I think
That's good. That's a good thing.
No, it is a very good thing, and I think that consumers, like especially I guess PC gamers, the whiners,
Oh, jeez.
Hey, I'm a PC gamer, but I don't go on forums and whine all the time.
You do it publicly on your podcast.
I don't whine on this podcast either. I whine about the PC gamers that whine. But regardless, I guess, what was I? Totally made me lose my train of
Sorry.
thought.
Consumers driving the process.
People see that. People see when you whine, and it does actually change things.
It does.
Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know. But it does. It does change things.
It's I guess, to make it analogous to us as well, not to make this whole thing about us, but
It is all about us.
yeah, but like it's
We're
that sort of
telling
thing-
the internet how right we are. That's
when
what's
when
funny.
people write stuff about you, you tend to read it
Yeah.
or like see it. Of
course.
Doesn't mean you got to comment
Everyone's
on it.
got pride in their
Sometimes
own
we
work.
do. I've seen Lawrence get in there, which I love seeing when someone calls him out and Lawrence is like, "Hey, chill the fuck out." It's great. I love when you put on angry dad pants.
I have to. The thing that gets me is tone. The internet, and it's weird because when you call somebody out, they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess you're right. That was a little harsh." But people say stuff like, "This is a fucking disgrace," and I have to be like, "Dude, chill out. Don't use those words when you're talking about a professional and their work."
Yeah.
It's just the verbiage people get used to, and I think it's fundamentally
it's a
disrespectful.
Yelp review mentality that we
Yeah.
kind of live on the internet. Like everything has to be polarizing. It has to be
Yeah.
the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. Because if it's somewhere in the middle, why should you care?
Right.
I guess you're right. You're absolutely right.
That's just
It has to be the extremes.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that irks me. People can be civilized online, and you can have an interesting exchange of ideas, and it is possible to disagree with somebody and part ways amicably. But man, people don't want to do that. I guess that's just human nature.
Just killed a dinosaur with a shotgun.
Fuck you, dinosaur.
Blew it up.
Lawrence, do we have any ad reads?
We actually don't. This is a totally clean.
Yeah.
ad-free
This episode is
podcast.
brought to you by Turok, a game that's coming out in 1996.
Let's go to the next story we were writing
Yeah,
about.
sure. Dark Souls 3. We reported
yeah.
on that.
No,
It has
you
to-
guys drew those
Oh
screenshots.
God.
What?
No, you got those from somewhere else.
Some of those were really nice backhanded compliments.
What an
though.
amazing
They
NeoGAF
really
thread.
had a lot of faith in our ability
to mock up.
to
screenshots.
mock up
Professional
screenshots.
level concept art. Yeah.
Adam just made those last weekend.
Like, yes.
All they did was take the UI from that. The UI. I like people that were complaining about the UI, and now that's the game that they're gonna pre-order.
They're gonna love it though. They're gonna love it.
I guess the other thing too is like, we could, I think collectively, not speaking for any one individual, but we're not gushing over Dark Souls where we sit in a corner and talk
I
about
like
how
it. I like it a lot.
I like it too. I
I
think it's
don't
actually a
gush.
good
We're not
game.
like saying, "Oh, it's the greatest game ever."
Yeah, like I kind of want to go back and play Bloodborne now that some time has gone by, but like I think mechanically the games are pretty cool. I'm just the fan base kind of turns me off a little bit because it's an all or none sort of attitude. Or I'm like, guys, there are other games out there. Like, Fallout's for pussies. Oh man, I'm the greatest warlord there ever was. Like, you're playing a video game, dude. You really gotta chill
it's
out.
funny to me too because like, and this is just again sometimes the loudest people, but like
Only
a lot
Sith
of
Dylan absolutes.
a lot of people that like
Need to get
were
punched more in high
adamant
school.
and vocal about like the Souls franchise, like loved it because it was like not an anti-game, but it was like such a refreshing new thing for people that were just tired of like the Call of Duties and like the rehash, the games that hold your hand. But now there's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
You know? And they're coming out like every single year. And it's like, your unique little niche game is now like an annual release.
very popular with lots of reviewers
Yeah.
and consumers.
Which
and
I-
everything
Like, are
else.
you going to complain about that? or you're just
I
gonna
no,
keep
I've
doing
actually
it?
seen that attitude where I've seen people go, Souls 2 is just so casual.
Yes, that's the thing. It turned in
and
on
like,
itself.
Bloodborne was a return to form, and like I'm playing these things, like it's all the same to me. Like
I'm
they're,
not-
they're really hard and they push your dick in. Like it sucks.
Whoa.
What?
That's a new level.
Well, they take the thumb to the urethra and they just kind of push it in.
You know, what sometimes you see something scary and your balls go, eat.
Yeah, suck up India.
It's like that, only it's more forceful.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
It brings the whole penis with it.
With all that said, though, like aesthetically, I do enjoy the games. I think the art design is pretty damn good. I think I like the way that the mechanics kind of work. For me, the punishing system. Oh wow, put that in a magazine.
Look at the teeth.
There's teeth. He's got teeth.
They drew polygons.
Oh man. I want to play Extreme G now.
The way the punishing nature of the games and the lack of sort of like any kind of quick save sort of thing. I've gone on rants about this forever. I'm just saying, like, I'd love to just progress through those games and just move along.
Yeah.
But the game is like, nope, you have to repeat this part over and over. Like, well, I'm moving on because Fallout allows me to quick save at this part, and I can continue on with my life because I have one. You're an old man. I hate this game.
I have played Bloodborne like voluntarily more than I have played any of the other games. You know? Well, I mean, because we did a Dark Souls
Oh, yeah.
series and
Throw
stuff like
grenades.
that, but technically I was getting paid to play those games, and I didn't choose them to choose to play them in my own time. And Bloodborne I have chosen to play in my own spare time. It is the kind of thing though
casual.
where as soon as one thing goes wrong, I'm like, all right, I'm over this game for the next 3 months, you know. But when it is happening, I'm like, man, the tension is really great. There is really like, it does feel like the stakes are really high in these types of games. I'm not on summer break all the time.
Yeah.
Like I don't get to go home every single night and play
Yeah.
video games, you know. And so
This guy.
I kind of have to be a little bit choosy about what I'm going to play. And I don't necessarily want to play something where I can spend an hour and a half and then not make any progress whatsoever, other than knowledge, which I'm too old. I don't learn new things with video games anymore. So
So just going back to that, we're not the biggest Souls fans in the room, but we understand it. We get the series. We have no investment in it whatsoever. So it's kind of funny that this thing kind of fell in our lap, and they're like, "You want to show this?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." And people are like, "These guys don't know what they're talking about." It's like, nah, not really.
Yeah, to be fair,
This was given to us.
at the time, a large part of people being skeptical was that they abjectly chose not to believe the Silent Hills thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it was amusing to see, and I've kind of commented on this process. I think there's a big part of it is, if
You're
you
being smug, by the way.
huh?
You're being smug.
Oh, me? Maybe.
Your smug
yeah,
alert's
maybe.
going off.
Well, it's kind of like counter smug. Oh, he was fighting the dinosaur.
Yeah, they're all dead.
There's I just murdered them all. There's
Indian with a gun kills man and dinosaur.
there's
More
11.
11.
There's this cultural belief that if you are inside gaming circles, you know everything there is to know.
Sure.
So you're up on things, you read all the Twitters, you watch all the news clips, and if you're told something that just disrupts your understanding of the games market, it can't be true because you follow it and you understand it. So if there's this story, and I saw this from other critics and forumites or whatever the fuck, if something just feels wrong to you at a glance, you're just nope. I know what's going on, and that doesn't feel right, so it's wrong. Because I am a gaming elite. I know what's going on. I follow all the right Twitter counts. I read all the right reviews. I make forum threads
man.
about stuff all the time.
This brings me back to when we did the PS4 story about the HDCP thing.
Oh shit!
And I was fighting with
Oh,
this
yeah,
kid.
that's right.
I saw his name pop up on Reddit again recently. He like unblocked his account.
Oh yeah, we were
It's
totally
great.
right about that. By the way,
We were super right about it. We're saying like, yeah, they're gonna block it, and he was fighting with us. Like he's like,
No way
He's like,
they're gonna do it.
He's like, Sony said they love me. Like they and then he even said, I remember him saying this. He was like, about this, going back to the whole story, you wouldn't have been able to capture any gameplay out of the PS4. It all would have been stuck on the system. And this guy was offering me solutions. He's like, well, even if you can't do that, the system has a built-in record functionality, and you can just live stream to Twitch. I'm like, I work in production. We need the highest quality possible. We need that option. Not that we're going to use it, but I need that option. He's like, why do you hate Sony?
That
I'm
also
like,
doesn't-
what the fuck is wrong with you?
It doesn't invalidate the story either. Even though he's giving you other options, it doesn't invalidate the fact that they did have HDCP turned on.
Well-
for their and meaning
Well, no, yeah.
you
Well-
couldn't capture it. So,
well, then
so
we-
like basically he's arguing an entirely different point at that point because you won. So you won, and then we moved on to the next point because he lost.
I just remember I could see his world shattering. Basically, what you're
it's
talking
back.
about there, Lawrence, where he's like, no. This is what I've heard, and it's like you're kind of falling for the PR speak, which
is what Sony wanted.
That's what Sony wanted. Yeah.
Nice.
There's a total. I mean, it's human nature, and the older I get, the more I see it. Where rather than if somebody is exposed to information that conflicts with their existing worldview, rather than try and reincorporate that information back into their worldview and change how they see the world, they just try to shout that information out of existing. So,
Shout it out.
if you thoroughly believe that global warming isn't happening, you choose also not to believe any raw data about global warming that says that it is happening. And it's kind of similar with,
Which is getting pretty impossible.
yeah, it's getting harder and harder, but people still do it.
Hey, it was cold last night.
Yeah.
It was cold though.
And
Why
the
was it cold?
same thing happens with video games. If you believe that Sony is the greatest, then you sort of bend the information you absorb to support that instead of maybe changing your outlook or your buy-in, because that's emotionally in some ways it's harder. It kind of requires you to acknowledge that, oh, I might have been wrong all these years. And it's a lot easier to shout down this one thing than look back on 2 years of a very firm belief structure and maybe evaluate that as not being so accurate.
It is a little weird too when money's involved, because now you start
Yeah.
trying to like validate your purchase.
Yep.
All these weird things like that is. I remember this mentality I had when I bought the PS3. And that studio better
Man.
be fucking awesome.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I just remember I plopped down like $400 for a PlayStation 3,
Man,
and I immediately started going on PlayStation like websites and stuff and trying to be like,
Yeah,
I'm
getting
going to join
into
the
it.
community.
I tried to get into trophies and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember buying a PlayStation at launch when it was $600 because I remember thinking, well, Final Fantasy 13 is coming out and that's going to be good, so I'm going to have to get this. Might as well do it now.
3 years later.
And then I played Ridge Racer 6, and that was it.
Ridge Racer.
That was a cool game, though. That was fun
What?
for about an hour.
Just fine purchase.
Oh, there we go.
Wow, that's with the door closed?
Shots
Jeez.
fired.
Lawrence, are there any other stories we were right
You
about?
got a few. Oh no. Well,
Or wrong about?
I mean, there's a lot of. So what we do a lot is we will provide context to certain stories, and just like more of a data-driven approach, more of a business-driven approach. So this is very broad, but the more industry professionals I talk to, the more I kind of hear, again in a very diplomatic way, people tell me like, "Hey, I'm really glad you guys can say what you say because you're right, and we're not allowed to say that stuff."
Oh, I see.
So when it comes to trying to explain to people the market forces that drive certain decisions, so like a buggy game that comes out on PC, there are market forces that drive that process, mainly that games just sell more on consoles, so it makes sense that a company would put more QA in that direction. There are certain I won't say agendas, but certain I think data-driven truths about the gaming landscape we've been trying to push, or at least I've been trying to push on the know, and talking with more producers and more publishers are like, yeah, you guys are right, and you should say that more because people need to hear it. And I guess that is a little onanistic. It's a big word. You guys should look it up. That wasn't me being smug, by the way. I'm just telling you guys how to say. No. There you go.
You should look them up.
Stick to short words. Like
Okay, smug. So
I
yeah.
actually have heard stuff. I've heard this from other individuals that we tend to have an older audience. They're like it was always kind of. I always try to. Yeah, I always forget because we're talking about video games. So I always kind of assume we have a very young audience, but like there are older people listen to us, and
Gamers are getting older.
gamers are getting older, and that there are like game developers and other guys who are like actually listening to our stuff now, and then coming to us and being like, "Hey, so I'm a game developer and I listen to your podcast and I like it." And like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
Now I
that's
have a
very weird.
responsibility. Crap. I just can't say poop jokes.
You can.
Yeah, you can. They love poop jokes.
No, that's true.
Everyone loves poop jokes. Oh shit! Here we go. Slow mo, baby.
What's that thing?
It gives me
That
spiritual
make- yeah.
invincibility.
Spiritual invincibility?
Schwam.
Oh, man, this is so cool.
It was so worth it.
Also, to be very fair to us, I have heard a couple of times where we've talked to game developers and other people, and they've been like, "Oh yeah, you guys are right about this, but you're also wrong about this."
Yes, of course. We're
This
not
is
right all the
actually what's
time.
happening. And what's funny about that is a lot of the times if we're wrong about something and they tell us that we're right about it, we can't say it.
Yeah.
And that sounds ridiculous, like it's a total cop out. But there are things that like we just can't say because it's NDA or what, or it's there are happenings within the company that we're just not allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
But trust me, those things come up, and we are definitely wrong about things. And actually, I was going to encourage people
Yes.
in the comments to, if there are other stories we reported on that we were objectively wrong about, that you can prove to us we were wrong, like with data, then tell us in the comments or like whatever subreddit or tweet us. It doesn't matter. One of
Yeah.
those.
Please keep us honest, for sure.
Because I would love to hear because we
there was-
do a lot of predictions, and those are not facts. We're not objectively saying those things are right. We're just predicting that they could happen or may happen. And if we're wrong, we're wrong. Whatever.
Yeah, I saw someone post a clip recently where it was from like an open house. I was making a joke, but it was like right when Fallout 4 got announced, and we were all like super hyped about it. And I was like, "Well, Witcher 3 is not going to be game of the year. Now it's Fallout." But enough time had gone by where it's like people were like, "Oh yeah, Witcher's the better game," and like, but it was a joke. Chill out.
We
Like,
showed them.
You got
I
fucked,
guess.
Adam.
Yeah,
I-
you were wrong.
You
Adam.
got fucked.
Well, I mean, like for like a year and a half, I was predicting Fallout 4 was going to come out at like each different interval, and I was absolutely wrong over and over and over and over and over and over. And it was always because I wanted the game to come out. It wasn't
Yeah.
because I thought,
You had-
like objectively, this is when it's.
you
going
had
to be.
wide eyes.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
seem to be excited.
you
like a
also
little boy.
you didn't do that thing where you were like told you it's coming out. It's like, yeah, no shit, it's coming.
Because you
out.
said it
It's-
every year.
Yeah. It's like if I keep saying the world's gonna end and it ends, I go, told you.
Told you.
Yeah. Hey, it's bound to happen, right, guys?
Yeah,
But I
there were-
predicted it. Like, well, yeah. If you keep just, I don't know. Like, my favorite thing
Got a
that
lot
I
of called it
I-
on Twitter about my hernia. Like, well, thank you
Well,
for letting me
here's
know
the
you
thing.
were right about
If
that.
you notice, the stuff that we like on a personal level seem to be the most invested in are never like the predictions that we get. We never get like the
Yeah.
scoops or
I'll go
anything
back.
from that. Like, I mean, the best example, like you just mentioned, Fallout. Like that's something that, like, if you had heard like the news on that, could you imagine like how excited you would be to report on it
Yeah.
and something like that? Psychonauts for me. Like,
Oh, yeah.
if we had heard anything like that, how ecstatic we would. But it was like, no, what did we got? We got Silent Hills, and we got
Dark Souls.
and we got Dark Souls. Two things that like none of us here really on a personal level, maybe the exception of Lawrence, would like
I like Dark Souls.
really give that many shits about.
Dark
you know?
Souls.
Yeah.
Like, so
But I mean, that's kind of what
Well, I finished
happens
Dark
when
Souls
you
1, though.
when you work around news. Is you have to kind of take that. You have to be that little bit of objectivity and be like, okay, well, like this thing fell in our lap. We should do our best to report on it because that's our job. We're not going to sit there and go, I don't really like Dark Souls, so you can keep your screenshots.
Well, yeah, because it's our job.
Leaker in question.
It's our job to provide entertainment and information to the audience. So it's not what we care about; it's what the audience cares about. That drives what we do.
For a bunch of stuff that ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, does not matter.
We've actually
It's entertainment news. That's what makes
video
it so
game.
great.
throughout
Yeah.
this podcast, we have referred to ourselves as reporters, and a lot of the times we said, well, we're not games journalists, we're not reporters, we're enthusiasts. The same is still true. However, if we get something that we need to report on, we want to do it correctly, and therefore, at that point, we are reporters. We don't consider ourselves reporters. We just, if it happens to come to us, then we want to do it justice, we want to do it correctly, and that's when it ends up we are being reporters, but doesn't mean we consider ourselves reporters.
Also, we don't shirk that term to not feel that we're accountable for anything.
Yeah.
We
Oh, yeah,
still
yeah.
obviously feel accountable. We like our jobs are reliant on people wanting to come back to see us again and again.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there isn't that much news.
Yeah, no, right.
But it's
When
it's a more of a way to prepare you emotionally for what you should expect out of the industry.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Okay.
Oh,
Nice.
that one trap got you.
Stay away from my gold or whatever.
So like if you're going into this expecting like all these blogs or what a 13-year-old kid's website to have done the research and done the back
Walter
searching.
Cronkite of blogs.
Yeah, like it's like that's not going to happen. and
Well, they
even more
they
so,
always try, and
even
then they
more so,
fail.
Yeah.
it's a matter of stakes. Like if this is about a building war or rebellion or refugees or like the well-being of a million plus people on an entire continent,
Yeah, lives are at stake.
there's some stakes there. If this is just whether or not
A video
this game that you played as a demo after E3 like is going to come out or not, like stakes aren't really that high, and maybe you should consider that. And not saying that it isn't important to you, because I love video games, and if video games are just taken away, I'd be like, fuck.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I supposed to do now? But it's just like there's bigger things, and that's where you should hold those people definitely accountable.
SpaceX just had its spaceship land.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
really cool.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
But like
We're not touching it.
One thing that I really liked was Lawrence made the call to do the episode about quantum computing. And what I like about that is I think Lawrence has started to develop a writing style and a producing style that speaks, or just us in general, the way we work. I think we've gotten better at like taking a heady concept and distilling it into a way that makes it relevant to today's audience. I feel like I'm reading a PowerPoint right now.
Which is
like-
why we want you to donate to us.
Go to our Kickstarter page.
yeah, I'm just saying like
Visit one of our many Patreons.
I think having worked in like entertainment and like working with the YouTube audience, you kind of learn how you have to, for lack of a better word, dumb things down a little
And that's
bit.
just the human race.
Yeah, that's the human race, exactly.
I actually, I'm
And
the
it's not a
same way.
bad
Like,
thing.
yeah, if something's too smart for me, like the SpaceX thing, I know it's important, but I'm like,
No one wants to be
why?
talked down to,
Yeah.
but everyone likes to learn. That's the
like I'm
difference.
Yeah,
That's why Sesame Street's so great.
yeah, or Bill Nye,
It
man.
respects you, but
Yeah,
informs
Bill
you at
Nye
the
is
same
another
time.
good example.
We're the Bill Nye of gaming news, whatever,
Jesus.
spaceships.
Adam's talking again.
You know, like,
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson.
this is why Lawrence writes.
I agree.
Woo! Here we go.
Yes, auto shotgun.
Oh, what's that?
Man,
My
we are.
favorite gun in the whole game.
Wait, you can get armor in this game?
Other than there's also a gun that is exactly the gun from Eraser, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
love that.
That's also in this game.
Doesn't it shoot aluminum cans?
I thought that was
Yeah.
in
Or
two.
just shoots aluminum?
Wasn't that in
Basically just
two?
a railgun.
No, it's in this
Yeah,
gun.
it's
just
the
a
only
railgun.
difference is that this one is a railgun, but then it explodes.
Railguns are
Cool.
sweet. I've learned about those.
Yeah, railguns are awesome. Anyways,
Magnets.
All right,
man.
well, hold on.
Lawrence
Hold on
getting
now.
hit by fire.
Ooh, I got tech armor. It's okay.
Oh.
So, on to another topic, I guess, unless you guys had other things to talk about.
No, we're all good.
So here's something
your
that's
dick a
really
little bit.
fascinating to me. We brought this up on the No. We reported on this. The idea about games being actually addictive or addicting.
Oh yeah.
So a 28-year-old Siberian man started playing Fallout 4, and could not stop, and lost his wife, he lost his job, and now he's suing Bethesda for 500,000 rubles, which is $7,000.
That's
Hold
it.
on, wait.
Oh, that's not bad.
This is Fallout 4?
Fallout 4.
They
So this
should
happened.
give me
Everything
copy.
fell apart in
Last couple
a
months.
month and a half?
I mean, if you do nothing but play a video game for a month and a half, yeah, your life will probably detonate.
Yeah.
If you don't spend any time with your wife, if you don't go into work anymore.
I always
And his wife just ended things. She's like, all right, well, it's
Right.
over.
Well, there's no details there.
that's the fun part. It's like because we as the audience come in when this story starts and when it ends.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
We get to be
what was
silent.
going on before that? Like,
Yeah.
were they having trouble with other things?
maybe.
And this
I-
was just the last straw.
I can probably almost guarantee they were having trouble with other things.
No. They were a very happy, perfect couple.
perfect. Everything was
they were in a hot air balloon before this whole thing went down.
Well,
and then Fallout came out and ruined his life.
Unless his wife, he lost his wife because while he was frozen in a chamber, some band of rogues came down and then unfroze
got it.
her,
Just
shot her,
like
going with
Fallout.
and then took his
Yep.
son.
Yeah.
So here's a quote. If I knew this game could have become so addictive, I would have become a lot more wary of it. I would not have bought it, or I would have left it until I was on a holiday or the New Year's holidays. A statement from the man read. He's not an English speaker.
That would have resolved everything.
So
Yeah.
I think.
Somebody didn't tell me this cocaine was so addictive. I wouldn't have done it.
Well, so Bruce, you're saying that facetiously, but maybe there's some truth there. Maybe he didn't know he had an addictive personality. He didn't know that the game would stroke his brain in the right way to make him unable. It's rough because these kinds of stories is like, what an idiot. He couldn't just be responsible and stop playing a stupid game. It's just a toy. But when it
I didn't say that.
oh yeah, I know I know you didn't, but a lot of people have. So I'm bringing up that as a straw man.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting now to really think about maybe these games do have a reward cycle that is addicting to certain minds. So certain
Has
addictive
that been
shit.
game
we've
since
been talking
day
about that for a
one?
very, very long time. Yeah, of course
Yeah.
they do.
So
I mean, masturbation's rewarding. That's
Shouldn't there-
why I keep doing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what happens if somebody dies of masturbation? They
Yeah.
sue their body?
well, not suing, but addiction is
God.
a medical
Sue God,
thing.
yeah.
You can't there is a definite and measured chemistry that changes in the brain that means
Right.
you are addicted to something.
Right.
So if that happens with video games, maybe it's not out of the realm of reality to say there should be some regulation of them.
What if the guy was addicted to beating kids?
No.
I'm just saying. And
That-
then I'm just saying the guy's an addictive personality.
Not everything can be addicting.
Well-
That's the problem. Addiction is an actual thing.
The thing is, you can't deny that a game like Fallout has elements that encourage you to play. Matt Peake himself, he's not there. Matt Peake himself has admitted several times that he should have gone to bed, but he kept playing the game.
Yes.
Right. So there's something about Fallout, obviously. Now, I think before you can attribute accountability to either the game or the man, you should probably take a better look at the man and say, so he got Fallout 4 within a month and a half of its release, right? Probably much sooner than that because his life has already fallen apart because he's played it so much.
Yeah.
How did he know? Where did he know that he was going to get this? Because you just don't normally walk out and say, I'm going to get this game the day it comes out, right?
I saw a billboard.
He saw a billboard, whatever, or has he played another Fallout before?
Sure.
Like, did he know what to expect, or has he ever played video games in any way, shape, or form ever before?
Did he ever play something and was addicted to that? I don't know. I mean, also this is
There's a lot of questions before you go,
Right.
this guy's a fuck up, or the game
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
the game is screwed. But it's still though, like, I mean,
So basically, what you're saying is we should do what the Wii did, which is go outside. Basically, like at some point, it should. I'm serious because the reason I say it is because alcohol's advertised.
Yes.
And they say please drink responsibly.
right, but there's not a guy who comes to your house and goes, "I'm gonna put the beer down for you. You need to go outside." It's because you're an adult, and part of the responsibility of being an adult is you need to know when to say enough is enough.
but like Bruce pointed out, the Wii does have a screen that pops up in the middle of the game and says, "Hey, go outside."
yeah, but you can choose to ignore that as
You
an
can,
adult.
absolutely.
as an
can.
adult, you absolutely
But
can.
it kind
but-
of covers their ass.
But it covers their ass.
their ass,
Just the
exactly.
same way alcohol companies don't want you to drink responsibly because then they'll sell less alcohol.
Right.
But they're going to tell you, they're going to say drink responsibly,
Yeah.
and they're
Smoking
assuming
kills.
that your
There you
addiction
go.
will overcome that, and then at least they're not accountable.
So what you do is you put a splash screen in every 2 hours or whatever that says like please go outside. And if you want to disable that, you go in the options and to say disable please go outside splash screen.
I would also say that, I mean, just general rule, year of our Lord 2015, moving to 2016.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't rely on the single experience of a Russian man
Why not?
to influence like how we do jurisdictions. What's going on back there?
Yeah, seriously, what are you laughing like a
Soul's
little
giggling.
baby?
There have been some other.
It's not our video. I'm sure of it.
I mean, there have been. There's not. That's not an isolated case, though. Every couple of months, the story makes the rounds about some Chinese dude that killed over dead in a gaming center because he couldn't tear himself away from Dota. So, you know, I feel like maybe 20 years from now, people look back and be like, oh yeah, those developers knew what they were doing, much like alcohol makers and cigarette makers knew what they were doing. They are actively trying to make these games hard to stop playing, and there's business reasons they want to do that, and I don't think it's an immoral thing, but I think maybe it's time to start acknowledging that in a formal way. I think these games are designed to hook you, so be aware of that. And maybe it should also be the developer's responsibility.
But I mean, isn't a good book's job to hook you?
But again, it's different kinds of hooks.
What's the difference?
In the way it changes your brain chemistry. I guess theoretically somebody could get so hooked on a book that they sit there and read it until they die. But to my knowledge, that hasn't happened much.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, a book ends, and a video game typically will take a lot longer.
Also, a book can't interactively provide you with rewards.
Choose your own adventure.
No, because it's
You
like,
got
now
me.
it's over, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I paid money for this Goosebumps? This sucks.
Goosebumps was never choose your own adventure.
Yes,
Nobody
they were.
does.
There was a Goosebumps
I'm sure
spin-off that was Choose Your Adventure, and it was
sure
awful.
there
Absolutely.
It was really
One of
bad.
them that was terrible.
I'm sure
Sounds
it was
like a
the
horrible
one-
example for
the
what we're
one
talking
he
about.
read.
there was a whole series of them, and I was like, I'm not going to invest myself into the series because I am a 19-year-old man.
Never again.
And I gotta go get laid. And you just sat in your room alone.
Not a lot.
any day
Not a
now.
lot at that age.
I understand what Lawrence is saying. I get it.
And this
Though
isn't necessarily
like-
what I think. I'm just throwing ideas
No,
out.
Right,
I think it's fair to consider that perspective.
I see this as optional entertainment.
There's
It's
a-
not being forced
Yeah,
upon
because
us.
you're not addicted to it.
No, but yeah, I
could be.
think there's a cultural accountability there too, though.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the Korean dude dying in a gaming cafe or whatever. It's like no one noticed the person sleeping there. No one said anything about this person who was always there. Like no one cared. No one did this, that, or the other thing.
I'm guessing that guy's wife was probably like, honey, please get off the computer. Please get off the computer. I'm going to leave you. Please get off the computer. And, like, he just didn't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
I doubt she didn't say anything for an entire month and then was like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm sure.
No,
it didn't
yeah.
happen.
But I'd rather him be that than addicted to skinning virgins or beating his children or something
man.
like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure. I
is
think I know
video
what you
game
mean.
addiction really the worst thing in the world?
That's actually a really good point
Yeah,
Adam
that is
makes.
the key.
I would rather him be addicted to a video game than alcohol or drugs or something that
Yeah.
can be abusive to other people.
Whatever, ancient city.
Because all we're seeing is what's in front of us, and it's like, well, what if this guy was into some other fucked up shit before this? And this was, it's like I
Keep
don't
him out of it.
It's not a
Yeah.
question.
That's
It just
that's
means you have
It's like a
different
methadone
personality.
That's
clinic.
Minority Report kind of shit. We can only base things on what we've actually seen, not what could have been.
when I think of people with an addictive personality, I think of substance abuse, and then I think of homelessness, and I think of crime, and all these things. And if that sort of person is like, I have an addictive nature, and I'm turning it towards something that I need to make money for, then it's not really that bad. It's like I'm addicted
You gotta
to.
make money to buy alcohol.
Yeah, but you need to make less to play video games. To support. I'm sorry,
know, man.
maybe not alcohol, but like.
Dude lost his job because he was just sitting at home playing Fallout all
Actually,
the time.
no. It costs more money maybe to play video games, so maybe you got to keep that job. You got to balance your life a
That's
little
not
bit
how.
more.
That's not how addiction works, though.
Here's the big
I don't
thing.
know how it works.
I think what we need to do, like, going back to society, and this is way out of my scope to discuss.
Most of this
I'll admit
conversation is.
I'll
Yeah.
admit this right away.
For me as well.
But mental health and addiction, like, should be things that are more openly considered as not something that you should punish the person for necessarily. If that was just generally the case, then maybe we would be in a situation where, okay, I am understanding as a society we're seeing he's showing off signs of addiction, whether it's to alcohol, whether it's to whatever. This is how we can get him help. Our society has developed methods that allow help to be like delivered to him in some sort of way, and then we can help this person. And it doesn't matter if it's alcohol or Fallout or skinning virgins. Like, we can help this person because we understand that they have a mental issue. Like, a lot of societies are ill-equipped to handle mental conditions because everyone just thinks, man, what a fuck up.
Yeah, just get over it. It's kind of the same with depression. Like, oh fuck.
So I think it's a bigger issue. I think, yes, sure, you can put there's so many fucking logos at the beginning of a video game you play these days for the engine, for the publisher, for the developer, for the sub-developer, for the
tree rendering
multiplayer,
software.
yeah, for all that stuff. Maybe they throw in one that instead of says like don't pirate this
anything.
game, it says this game has a reward system, like play responsibly. Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. Yeah.
That's all you need. If they gaming community as a whole just adopted this thing and play responsibly just came up, and if you follow the link, it takes you to a big thing that explains how gaming addiction works and blah blah blah. Boom.
But if people, well, I mean, boom, what?
You boom. You've
boomed
at least
it. You
tried-
covered- you
you've done
covered your
something
ass.
and that costs you zero effort
Yeah, you
to
covered
do.
your ass.
Yeah, but it also will probably have zero impact.
Not necessarily. Maybe one person clicks the link.
Yeah, maybe one person reads that and they're like, "Shit, I've been playing for 2 days," and then they're like, "I think I might have a problem." I mean, there's like the intervention moment where you have to present somebody who's just having a good time, but I think people, I believe, and this is maybe just my optimism of the human race, but I believe that there are people who kind of know when they're getting into dangerous territory, but they don't know how to stop, and that's part of what addiction is. You just can't. Your brain won't let you.
If this thing goes through and this guy gets all 7,000 rubles or whatever it is, not that,
$18.
Well, yeah. So another part of the story is they took up his case just to see what would happen, because this is kind of like a
Who's
precedent. The people who are
The
prosecuting.
Russian mob.
Yeah, the Russian mob. It's yeah. Sorry, I don't know exactly who's prosecuting the case with this
Yeah.
guy, but
Chuck E. Cheese.
there was a mention from the attorney being like, yeah, we don't know if this lawsuit's going to go
Sure.
anywhere, but fuck it, let's
It's
try
funny
it.
because the amount's so low, but
Yeah.
I could see this is one of those things.
Oh.
This is why YouTube enacted what's it called?
go.
Copyright. What's the thing that they do? Content ID.
Content ID.
Oh.
Because it was a response to Viacom trying to sue the shit out of YouTube.
Oh, I see.
And so it's like, okay, we need to protect ourselves. So what I could see is if one of these cases ever goes through, then yes, we will live in James's perfect society where we have a title card before a video game and we fix all of our problems.
You're just going to skip past it anyway. Does it matter?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't read the terms of service
Exactly.
for
So-
my
Well,
60-page
it's not for
contract.
you,
Yeah,
Adam.
it's
know.
not for you, but it may interrupt someone else who it is for, and then that person gets help.
Man, if that one person, their entire
Not one. Not one.
You
A
said
lot of people.
You said one. Okay, let's say 10. 10 people's entire livelihood hinges on whether they actually can read a title card or not. I feel bad. I don't know.
I think-
I'm
I-
more
well,
scared
again,
for that
I think
person.
you're-
You don't have an addictive mind.
Yeah,
so.
I think you're looking
I
at
kinda
mental
do.
illness the
Yeah.
utterly wrong way.
pretty sure-
I think a good comparison to this is depression. Depression is the kind of
It's
thing
not
where,
just being sad.
Yeah, it's like get
Yeah.
over it. Stop being so sad. Go do something fun. Go ride a roller coaster. It's like that. That's not how it works. There's a chemical leaking into their brain that's making them feel utterly pitiful and just
not
horrible.
Not to diminish anyone else's feelings of depression, but like I've dealt with depression.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, like at that point, I think we have to decide what like. There's personal responsibility somewhere in here.
Sure, of
Yeah,
course, of course.
absolutely.
Like, I mean, there has to be. And I mean, that's part of a society. Any society is personal responsibility. So at some point, we have to decide, like, all right, well, where's the personal responsibility? I think what James is saying is like, if you put that warning there, then things are covered. And I honestly don't think anybody will ever read it. But
low impact.
there is some sort of personal responsibility in the fact that then somebody can't sue, and we have to, as a society, decide if we're going to say, all right, are video games addictive or not, and then start deciding on how to deal with those.
Well,
things.
it doesn't even have to be a decision. Clinical studies can tell you if video games are addicting or not.
Well, no, but decide how to deal.
But that's such
Oh, I
a
see.
blanket statement. Like all video games are addicting. Like
Well, they're not, but I mean,
Right.
like, some are, some
Well,
aren't.
I mean, it is a blanket statement. Alcohol is addicting. It just is, and that's a medical fact. That's not a question of opinion.
well, I don't know.
Well, no,
like
that's
Jaeger's not addicting to me because fuck that stuff. I look at that stuff and I vomit.
But if
immediately.
if we say that, then most anything that causes pleasure is addictive. So yes, yeah, that's that. And
No,
that's, it is because there are
oh, man.
varying levels of addiction, and that's what I'm getting at is that
I
there
don't-
are varying levels of addiction.
I don't
for-
like blanket statements because it leads to a nanny state and it leads to you know,
Whoa.
what
So
the hell
what-
happened there?
So here's my thing. Don't litter. Don't throw your trash on the ground. It's like, well, who would do that? I don't know. Maybe someone would. Don't do it. If
lot of
everyone
people
just
do.
doesn't throw their shit on the ground, then it doesn't. It's like good. You won't even notice it. It's like it's there. It's gone, and there's no trash on the ground. Like to me, that's just the same kind of statement as just make it aware, throw it out there, put it out there. It's no effort to put in a fucking PNG that says this can be a thing. There you go.
Treat yourself
Hit
right.
enter, go on by, right? But maybe it's a low impact thing. It doesn't. It's not going to hurt the gaming experience whatsoever. They're not going to take away your games. It doesn't matter. But don't litter.
I'm just saying that
maybe gaming
that
addiction's a
owl is way more effective
It may
than
be.
a
thing.
title
Tootsie
card.
Roll owl?
What? Who's the don't litter owl? Right? Is that a thing?
Give a hoot, don't
so.
pollute.
Yeah, that's the guy.
What Adam
That
is
was a
saying, what
California
Adam is
thing.
saying is it's kind of a slippery slope. So that's the thing that I think
I see.
Do we have to worry about? So like whether or not we're going into dangerous territory by saying, all right, well let's put that thing on. Oh, well, you know what? Let's make the game shut down every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, you see what I'm
it's
saying?
yeah.
Then it becomes then it's like this slippery slope that we don't know how far along we are.
I would like
see
us as a society in a way to say, you know what? I can take care of this, so you don't have to, because I don't want someone to come. Because then it's like,
Well, yeah.
then what is,
Self-regulation is always ideal, and I think I really do believe that the U.S. government, or any government for that matter, has more shit to worry about, and they only get involved if they have to. So, like with tobacco, the tobacco industry was trying their hardest to cover up the fact that they were putting nicotine, which is addictive, in cigarettes, and the U.S. government had to be like, you can't lie to people like that. You're lying to them, and that's not fair because people are dying. So it's not necessarily to that point now, but game developers are actively trying to make their games give you a hook, give you a mental hook, give you a pleasure reward. And if the medical studies are done and it shows, wow, this really does grab people and almost remove their ability to choose because it taps into some weird monkey brain part that we have. At that point, maybe the government should say, wow, you guys are really trying to take advantage of people here.
let me blow your brain right now. What we're doing right now is creating an addictive form of entertainment. We are exploiting a lot of young people who are societally, they are alone. They feel like they don't have a lot of friends, and they come to us all the time because they see us as their internet friends, and we are exploiting that. Should that be regulated?
That's not our strategy. That's not our content development strategy.
Never said it was. But
No, but what Lawrence is saying is that they are making same with smoking companies and tobacco companies.
Yeah, but they're
putting an active ingredient. They're making a conscious business decision to encourage addictive behavior.
Sure, but on that point, isn't nicotine already in tobacco?
I think they added more.
Isn't that a byproduct of it?
They added more.
I'm pretty sure
Okay, sure.
it's kind of like caffeine and soft
Okay.
drinks.
Well, I'm saying, like, what if we hammed it up and we're like, hey, buddy, we love you.
Yeah, but we
I'm
don't
your
do
friend.
that.
Like, we
Yeah,
do the Corey hotline, basically.
Well, I mean,
subscribers.
yeah,
but I don't wanna become that.
There's a shit ton of YouTubers that do that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like whether
Should they be regulated?
if they're doing it subconsciously because they don't have friends, then that's one thing. I mean, listen, I'm not asking for a blanket statement.
But now we're getting into like
Yeah,
intent.
we wouldn't be able to
Well,
determine that.
again, I think
Yeah.
medical studies can determine whether or not something is rewarding to the level of needing a warning or not. And it's just that those studies haven't happened. They have happened for alcohol and tobacco. And the medical studies showed that yes, this stuff is addicting to the point that we need to help people out.
I don't want to get to a point where we have to put a title card in our video saying, warning, these guys are behind a screen and you can't touch them.
They are not your friend.
Yeah, they're not actual real people, and if they don't talk back to you when you talk
thought
to
I was
them,
real.
we are not responsible if you feel sad. I don't want to get to that point. That's what I'm saying.
But you
And-
were thinking way far ahead. Like you
Yeah.
were like, well, what if the Nazis come back?
what? No.
That's like
It's always got to be Nazis.
I
going
just see what
way
happens when you
slippery
give
slope.
up. I just see what happens when you give up a little bit of freedom.
Well, that hasn't happened with alcohol
It
or
turns into
tobacco,
that.
Are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying this is what happens to this is how nanny states are.
You can
formed.
still buy cigarettes.
What?
They just have a big skull on them.
Hold on, where is
Sure.
this place?
I get what Adam's saying
South
because
Korea.
there are a lot of different there are a lot of
Orwellian 1984.
There are a lot of different
like-
movements, and to be honest with you, that's
In
sort
books?
of that's what a lot of our freedoms are based off of. Is like we have to decide along the way how many steps we're going to take towards that.
Yeah.
And that I think that's what Adam's getting at.
I don't feel like we need to have someone who comes in and says, "Hey, buddy, maybe slow down." It's like, you know what? Let me do this if I want, and if it kills me, fuck it. It's like that's on me, and it's on the people around me to figure that out. I don't need a government to come in and tell me to stop.
So another fuck this.
Interesting.
We're at the end of the podcast.
Damn it.
I have a
it's
really good question. For you.
Adam,
Like I
I'm
said.
really glad you put it in those terms. I like not that it's like, oh, I got you now, but I get that. I can agree with that. It's
Well, it's like it depends. Do you want to legalize all drugs?
Yes.
I do.
Well, I know you do.
I do
Yeah.
too, as long as
But that
they should shove a pamphlet in your hand and be like, okay, you're about to buy cocaine, fucking read this. And of course, the guy's just gonna be like, whatever.
I'm okay with alcohol and cigarette regulation the way it's done, and I think all drugs should be the same way just because I look at the Mexican cartel.
So what I'm saying is, if we want to legalize all drugs, it's sort of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
At that point, then we're deciding, all right, we're taking a bunch of different steps because we're saying, do whatever you want. It's no big deal. We know they're addictive, but who gives a fuck? Do it. And
as
Okay,
long as
but-
somebody is reasonably educated about what may happen.
That's
to them.
my thing. Like, I'm not saying take away the games. I'm not saying make video games illegal. I'm just saying like if I'm totally down for all drugs being legalized too.
Got a bone.
But do I think that any sort of information that comes out that says, hey, maybe cocaine's really addictive, should be hidden away? Or do I think that should be open? If you go into a drug shop and you want to go buy some cocaine, do I think that it's totally reasonable to have a sign up on the door or above the door that as you're walking in that says, hey buddy, cocaine might fuck you up real bad. Anyway, enjoy. Like, I think that's totally justified.
I think that I don't want to compare a chemical substance
Right.
to
video games.
a visual medium.
Yeah.
Well, except
maybe
that
that's
it's
just
all
our lack of
chemical
understanding.
substances.
Gambling is regulated.
Yeah, see? Gambling and video games are really,
hold on.
really similar.
That's money. Like, you're not winning any money from video games.
You're spending money. You're not even winning it.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
You don't have to spend money on
So with
some of these
gambling, there's a
games.
lot more. There's a lot more of a vice there. There's a lot more of addiction than there would be for a video game.
People gamble without money though, and it's just as addicting.
I don't know. I listen.
People gamble. What do they
Listen.
gamble with?
They just like play bingo and shit. There's also like there are casinos where you have to exchange your money for tokens, and all you win is more tokens. You never get money
you
back.
exchange those tokens for money.
It's
Always. That's the way gambling. That's what gambling is.
Forgot you were in every
Except for
casino
Chuck
in the
E.
world.
Cheese.
Eh.
Are you talking about pachinko machines?
My dad used to have a little mobile slot machine, right?
Yeah.
That all he did was just press it. It didn't win anything, and it didn't cost him anything. Of
course.
And he would just sit in his chair and just bring.
But has anybody ever died
Bring-
playing that game?
bring-
No.
I
No
don't
one's
think
ever
that- I don't
died
think
playing
that's
that
the-
game.
You know,
I'm just saying, once it
there have
hits your
been
brain,
billions
it's
of people
all
on this
chemical.
planet. Maybe.
Once it hits
Someone
your brain,
might
it's all-
have.
Nobody's ever died doing that, and that's I guess that's what Adam originally was getting at, is that there are higher stakes for each of these vices.
But people
And-
have died playing games.
Right, but how many people have died drinking alcohol? How many people have died, like fucking doing cocaine?
Yeah, I know, but it's a matter of tiered. I say
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
taking it on in the right order because
Yeah.
a lot of fucking people die from drugs and a lot of people die
Yeah.
from alcohol.
Right, exactly.
But we've already got signs up for those things. People already know. It's already like aware of what's going on there.
Well, actually, we do have signs for video games.
That's yeah.
And so that's sort of what I guess what I'm kind of curious about is, like, should we put one in front of every single video game, or just the video games that we think might be addictive, that we studied might be addictive?
No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying. I'm just saying if they started showing up in games,
They do.
like-
They are there.
which games?
Like I said,
Metal
the
Gear
Wii
does it.
has-
Yeah,
the-
Metal
yeah, I
Gear
mean, like
Wii
there
games.
are lots of video games that have
Okay,
that.
so that's
Typically
two.
family
You've named-
friendly.
You've named
There are
one
lots
console,
more. There are
one
lots
But I would,
console,
I
and
would,
one
I
other
would,
game.
There are
I would
lots
rather,
more, and
I'd
I'll do
rather
the
the
research if you want.
responsibility fall on. If Bethesda does this, good for them. I don't want them to do it because the government says they have to.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
I think,
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I think that's ideal in every
I'm
situation.
doing personal responsibility too. What fucking? It doesn't cost them anything.
You know
That's my
what?
point.
Make a mod that does it.
I think maybe that's what Adam was thinking, that we thought the government was going to intervene.
I don't like blanket regulations.
That's why I'm saying, like,
not crazy
pick up
about
your
that.
shit, pick up your trash.
I don't think anyone
Don't
is.
litter. Like, that's not something that, like, just don't do it. Like, can we not, as a society, it's personal responsibility to take care of our society. I think.
Just look out for each
I
other,
agree.
y'all.
Just legalize cocaine. It'll
Legalize
fix all the
cocaine.
problems.
No problems anymore. We legalize cocaine.
I've had a fantastic time watching Lawrence play Turok.
yeah,
It's
I-
actually
Almost
really
wanna
entertaining.
Go back and play
No,
it.
you don't.
So here,
I don't remember it looking this fun. He's making it look
it's
fun.
because the platforming is probably a little bit better on mouse and keyboard
the
than it
frame
was
rate is
with
about
the-
18
Yeah.
times
with
higher.
the Nintendo 64
the game looks like
controller.
it translates pretty well.
But the only thing I do remember is that every fucking level looks exactly the same, and it only gets more and more drab.
It's the Lost City. We're in a
It's
magical
really, really.
city.
It's like you're in level 8.
Would
Looks
you say-
exactly like this.
Do you think you want to go home and play it for
oh my god, I found the
15
key.
hours?
No, not fit. I don't think it'll last.
Oh,
Maybe
I got
40
tricked.
hours?
I might go home.
You think Elise will leave you
much-
because you're playing Turok?
How much does this cost?
Like $20, I think. It's on
Oh,
sale
never
for
mind.
15.
That's way too much
out.
money.
How much?
If it was like $5, if it was $4.99.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Winter sale starts tomorrow, I think.
If it's on sale for $5, I might buy it. But then I'll see if the
These are the guys making System Shock 3. Woo!
I'm gonna try it here and see if the
Say more words I don't
old
care about.
Nintendo 64 cheat codes work, because you could walk around the whole
I'm
world
sure they do.
with the slow motion
Yeah.
crazy effects
I'm
on,
sure
and then
they
you
do.
blast them with the eraser gun. It's
Yeah,
great.
I remember doing that. Anyways,
shoot
all
in
right,
the
the podcast. is
Yeah,
over.
we're done.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I can't stop playing.
Sorry, we became.
Lawrence is addicted.
Sorry, we became adults at the end.
Somebody pull him off the machine.
If only it would pop up with a little thing saying, hey,
Hey, you've been playing a lot of Turok.
maybe go away.
What's wrong with you?
Maybe go away.
Got a new area.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Nice, funny. Oh boy. All right, keep going, Lawrence.
Okay, fine. Hitman.
Lawrence?
I think you might be right. I've actually played all the Hitmans.
Wait,
I
what's
enjoyed
the subtitle?
This is just games
one.
Lawrence wants for next year.
No!
Are you sure it's not the movie?
It's not. Everyone contributed to this list. It's an alphabetical list of all the hot games.
Are you sure it's not
I
the
didn't add anything to
Just
this
turns out
list.
I like all
I don't
games,
remember
so whatever.
adding to this
I
list.
didn't add the list.
Yeah, well, I showed you on the doc, so
I-
whatever.
I
I'm waiting for a name that's not Lawrence,
We're getting
Adam,
there.
or Spool.